The stars above the capital city of Zale burned bright, but deep below the Queen's palace, shadows danced across cold metal walls. Queen Thalira stood tall in the hidden chamber known only to a few, the Vault of Beasts. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried tension. Beside her stood her top generals and scientists, all silent, all watching the massive cage in front of them. Behind that force field slept a creature as tall as 2 men and built like a living tank, covered in dark, armored scales. It was the guardian beast, a creature born of ancient science, said to protect the bloodline of Zale's queens. "It is time to test the protocol," one general said. Queen Thalira nodded once. "Proceed." A signal was sent to simulate an emergency. Alarms flashed red. The Queen shouted the activation phrase in her native tongue loud and clear. The beast didn't move. She repeated the words, louder, sharper. Still nothing. The room grew tense. Murmurs rippled through the guards. One of the engineers stepped forward, worried. "Maybe the system needs calibration." Suddenly, the alarm stopped. A small explosion echoed from above. Then a second. One. Closer. "What was that?" the Queen demanded. A soldier ran in. "Your Highness, the rebels have breached the lower wing. They're inside the palace." Weapons were drawn. The Queen didn't run. She stood still, eyes locked on the Guardian. "Awaken," she screamed again. The beast didn't even blink. From the hallway, a man stumbled in. His uniform was different, less polished, with grease stains on his sleeves. He was human. His name was Cole, and he had been sent to fix a power node earlier, that day. "What's going on?" Cole asked, confused. "You, get out," barked one of the guards. Then the lights flickered. The cage's power field began to fail. The Queen was now in real danger. The rebels were approaching fast. A sharp buzzing sound filled the chamber. The Guardian's eyes opened, but it did not move. Queen Thalira raised her voice one final time, filled with command and royal authority. "Protect your queen." Still, the beast didn't stir. Suddenly, without thinking, Cole shouted, "Hey, don't just lie there, move!" The Guardian's head turned, its eyes locked on Cole's. Then it stood up. Gasps filled the room. The metal cage doors slid open as the beast calmly stepped out and walked past the Queen, past the guards, and stopped beside Cole. Queen Thalira couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Impossible," she whispered. Cole stared at the massive beast wide-eyed. Good boy," he muttered. The Guardian let out a low, thunder-like growl. But it didn't attack. It stood as if waiting for orders. The Queen stepped forward, eyes sharp. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Cole said quickly. "I just told it to move." The Guardian turned its head slightly and looked at Thalira. It showed no aggression, but no obedience either. Moments later, palace. Guards arrived to report the rebels had been stopped, but no one cared about that right now. Everyone was staring at the impossible. The Queen's legendary protector, the beast of ancient law, had responded to a human. To him. Queen Thalira looked at Cole with a mix of anger and disbelief. She had never trusted humans. She didn't even want him here in the first place. Now, for reasons no one understood, her greatest weapon had chosen to listen to the one voice she could not control. Queen Thalira sat on her throne, silent and cold. Her advisors stood in a circle around her, whispering with nervous eyes. Outside the palace, things were calm again. But inside, something had changed. Something no one could explain. The human, Cole, stood in the center of the room. His clothes were still messy and his hands were scratched from the earlier chaos. He didn't belong in this grand hall, filled with tall banners and polished armor. Yet all eyes were on him. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble," Cole said, trying to sound calm. "I was just helping." The Queen raised her hand. Everyone went silent. "You shouted one word," she said, and the Guardian obeyed. "That creature is bonded to my royal line, not to outsiders, especially not to humans." Cole sighed. "I didn't ask for this, maybe it was just luck." Thalira's sharp eyes narrowed. Nothing about the Guardian is luck. The scientist who oversaw the vault stepped forward. We've tested the, Guardian systems. Its sensors, neural patterns, and loyalty codes are unchanged. There is no sign of malfunction. It simply chose to respond to him. Thalira's voice turned colder. And why? We don't know, Your Highness, the scientist admitted, but the connection seems real. The Queen stood and looked down at Cole. Until I find the reason, you will stay in the palace, under watch. You are not a guest. You are a subject of study. Cole frowned. So now I'm a lab rat? You are alive because of the Guardian, she said. Don't test my mercy. Two guards stepped forward and led Cole away. The Queen didn't watch him leave. She turned to her advisors and said, Find answers. I want to know why my beast listens to him and not me. Cole was placed in a large guest chamber. It was clean, but it felt more like a cage than a room. A soldier stood by the door at all times. He couldn't leave, but he could walk around inside. Later that evening, the doors opened again. The Guardian entered. Cole jumped back. Whoa, I didn't call for you. But the creature didn't growl or attack. It simply sat down near the wall like a silent protector. Okay. So you're just gonna hang out now? Cole asked. The Guardian tilted its head, almost like it understood. Cole scratched his head. Do you even have a name? The Guardian blinked slowly. I'll call you Ashar, Cole said softly. Yeah, that fits. The creature gave a low rumble, almost like approval. In the Queen's private chamber, Thalira watched a video, screen showing the interaction. He named it, she said quietly. One of her advisors replied, and it responded. The Queen looked out the tall window, lost in thought. She didn't like this feeling. She didn't like mysteries she couldn't control. The Guardian had been silent for generations. It was a symbol of her family's strength, her strength. Now, it sat calmly beside a human who didn't understand its history. Her pride burned. The next morning, Cole was taken to a training yard. The Queen watched from a balcony. Ashar stood beside him as alien trainers gave voice commands. The Guardian didn't react. Then Cole spoke. Ashar, step forward. The beast obeyed without hesitation. Gasps filled the air. The Queen's hands gripped the railing. This wasn't a trick. This was real, and the bond between them, no matter how unwanted, was growing stronger. Days passed, but the tension inside the palace only grew stronger. Cole was no longer just a technician. He had become a mystery, and the center of every whisper in the royal halls. Every morning, he was brought to the training yard. Every time, Ashar followed without being told, and every time the giant beast ignored the commands of soldiers, trainers, and even the Queen herself, but it responded to Cole without fail. Sit, Cole would say. Ashar would lower itself slowly to the ground like a well-trained guard dog. Stay. The beast wouldn't move a muscle, even when poked or shouted at by others. The alien trainers who had once laughed at Cole now watched him with wide eyes and careful respect. Queen Thalira watched everything from above, behind tinted glass. Her arms were crossed, her face unreadable, but inside her heart was boiling. She was supposed to be the ruler, the voice of command. The Guardian was part of her throne, her bloodline, her legend. Yet here it was, following a human who barely understood its power. Why does it obey him? She asked her royal advisor. We have studied every angle, Your Highness, the advisor said carefully. The human's voice frequency matches nothing in our records. There is no ancient bloodline connection. The Guardian simply trusts him. Thalira turned sharply. Then break that trust. Make the creature listen to me. The advisor lowered his head. We have tried. It resists. If we push too hard, it may become dangerous. The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, That thing was born to protect me, and now it looks at me like a stranger. Later that night, Cole sat quietly on the floor of his room, tossing a metal coin into the air. Ashar rested beside him like a statue. There was peace between them, an unspoken bond. You know, Cole said, looking at the beast, I still don't understand why you listen to me. Ashar blinked slowly. I'm not important. I don't have power or a throne. I just fix things. The creature gave a soft rumble, almost like a sigh. Cole chuckled. Yeah, maybe that's the point. I don't want anything from you. I just talk to you like you're real. There was a knock on the door. A soldier entered. The Queen requests your presence in the throne hall. Cole stood up, confused. Now? It's late. She didn't ask. She commanded. Ashar stood up beside him. No, the soldier said quickly. Only the human is allowed. Ashar growled low, not in anger, but in warning. Cole raised a hand. It's okay, Ashar, I'll go alone. The beast lowered its head but stayed back. Inside the grand hall, Queen Thalira stood near the royal flame. She didn't sit on her throne. She was waiting. You came, she said flatly. I was told to, Cole replied. The Queen's eyes narrowed. I've watched you, I've studied you, and I still don't understand how you've done this. I didn't do anything, Cole said. I just treated the Guardian like a living being. Thalira stepped closer. I've trained with that beast, I've fed it, I've spent years preparing to bond with it. Cole didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. I won't be ruled by a human's voice, she said sharply. I'm not trying to rule anything, he replied calmly. Maybe that's why it listens. The Queen turned away, her face lost in shadow. She didn't reply, but something had shifted in her expression. Doubt, confusion, maybe even fear. That night, in the deepest part of the palace, the Guardian stood at Cole's door again, watching over him like a silent protector. And for the first time, in years, the Queen felt like she wasn't the one in control. The royal palace sparkled under the twin moons. Banners flew high. Music echoed through the marble halls. Tonight was the Queen's Victory Festival, celebrating a decade of her rule. Diplomats from across the galaxy attended. Lights danced. Cups clinked and the people of Zael cheered, but inside the Queen's heart, there was no joy. Queen Thalira stood at the highest balcony, wearing a long silver cloak and a crown of black crystal. She watched the people below, smiling and laughing, unaware of her growing concern. Behind her, her guard stood in perfect formation. Ashar was not among them. It stood far below in the courtyard, calmly beside one man. The man, Cole, the Guardian, refused to leave his side no matter how many times Thalira ordered it. She even tried to command Ashar herself just that morning. Protect your queen, she had said. The beast didn't move. But when Cole called its name just once, it walked to him instantly. The shame burned inside her like fire. Inside the ballroom, Cole tried to stay quiet. He didn't like crowds. He didn't wear royal clothes or medals, just clean black fabric and a simple belt. People pointed at him, some bowed, others stared with cold eyes. They whispered, "That's the human," or "He speaks, and the Guardian obeys." Cole kept walking. He didn't want power or attention. He just wanted answers. As he stepped outside toward the garden, a blast suddenly shook the ground. Boom, screams followed. Lights exploded. Fire lit up the sky. "Attack!" someone shouted. "Rebels!" Panic spread through the palace. Guests ran in all directions. Guards rushed to protect the queen. From the lower hall, the rebels emerged wearing red armor, weapons ready. They pushed forward quickly. A group of them spotted the queen on her balcony. They aimed high. Queen Thalira stood her ground. "Call." "The Guardian," one general shouted. "I already did," she answered. Her voice was tight. "It won't come." Down in the lower courtyard, Ashar lifted its head. It growled, sensing danger. But it didn't move. "Go," Cole shouted. "She's in trouble." Still, the beast didn't respond. Cole ran to the gate, climbed the stairs, and shouted again. "Ashar, move, protect her now." The Guardian roared and charged. Its massive body smashed through the marble floor, tearing through the corridors. In seconds, it reached the balcony, leaping between the queen and the attackers. With one swipe of its claw, it threw the rebels from the edge. Fire and debris fell. Ashar stood tall and silent. The queen, still alive, looked at it with disbelief. Then, she turned her eyes to Cole, who had just arrived, out of breath. "You saved me," she said slowly. Cole shrugged. "Not me. Ashar did." She stepped closer. "It didn't listen to me, but it listened to you. Again." Cole looked around at the damage. Maybe it's not about orders. Maybe it's about who it trusts. The queen didn't answer, but her eyes softened just a little. Later, as the palace was being repaired, the queen stood in her chamber, alone. Her hand rested on the balcony rail. Below, Ashar was curled near Cole in the courtyard. "I am the queen," she whispered to herself, "but the beast has chosen him." She had built a life around pride, power, and legacy. Now, one humble human was changing everything. She hated it. But deep inside, part of her was beginning to wonder, what if this bond was no accident? The smell of smoke still lingered in the air days after the rebel attack. Repairs were happening fast, but fear had already spread across the kingdom. The rebels had escaped, and their next attack could be even worse. In the war room, Queen Thalira stood before a large star map. Red dots marked enemy bases across nearby moons. Her generals argued over plans, but she remained quiet. Then her eyes turned to Cole, who stood silently at the back of the room. She pointed to a location. "This is where they're building a weapon," she said. "A weapon strong enough to kill even Ashar." Gasps filled the room. "A weapon that can destroy the Guardian?" a general asked in shock. Thalira nodded. "We believe it uses energy that disrupts the beast's body." Everyone looked at Cole. "I need a small team to go there and destroy it," she said. "And Cole must lead them." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Wait, me?" "Yes," Thalira replied. "The Guardian will only obey you. If you are not there, Ashar is useless." Cole looked nervous. "I'm not a soldier. You are now," she said flatly. The next day, a sleek transport ship left the capital. On board were 5 elite alien soldiers, Cole and Ashar. The soldiers didn't talk to Cole much, but they respected him. After what happened at the palace, no one questioned his connection to the Guardian. As the ship flew through space, Cole sat beside Ashar and tried to understand what was happening. "I was just a repair guy," he whispered. "Now I'm leading a mission to destroy a weapon." Ashar tilted its head as if listening. "I hope you know what you're doing," Cole added with a nervous smile. When they reached the target moon, the team landed in silence. The sky above was purple, with lightning flashing behind tall rocky hills. They moved carefully toward the rebel base, hidden in the cliffs. Suddenly, an alarm went off. "They saw us!" one soldier shouted. Rebel drones flew down from the cliffs, firing energy shots. The team took cover behind metal rocks. Cole ducked low, heart racing. "Ashar, protect them!" Ashar leapt forward, taking the blasts on its armored body. With a single roar, it smashed through the drones, sending parts flying. The team moved behind the Guardian like a living shield. Step by step, they reached the base entrance. Inside, the rebel weapon glowed with blue light. Scientists ran in panic, and guards opened fire. Cole's team pushed forward, but the weapon began to power up. Sparks flew. A voice shouted, "It's locking onto the Guardian." Ashar roared in pain. Energy bolts struck its body. The creature stumbled. "Ashar!" Cole screamed. He ran forward and placed his hand on its chest. "You're okay. Stay with me." Ashar growled, then stood again, shaking off the energy. With one final charge, it smashed the weapon, breaking it into 1,000 burning pieces. The base fell silent. They had done it. Back on the ship, Cole sat quietly. His hands were bruised, his body ached, but he was alive. The alien soldiers nodded at him with new respect. "You didn't have to stand in front of that weapon," one said. "But you did." "I wasn't going to let Ashar fall," Cole replied. Ashar rested nearby, its eyes calm. For the first time, Cole felt like more than just a visitor. He had saved the Guardian, and maybe saved the Queen's empire too. Far away, Queen Thalira stood at her balcony watching the stars. He completed the mission, her advisor said. She didn't speak. She only stared at the stars where Cole's ship was now returning. And quietly she whispered, "Why do I feel proud?" The skies above Zale's capital were darker than usual. A storm was coming, not just in the weather, but in the hearts of the people. Queen Thalira's rule, once strong and unquestioned, now stood on shaky ground. The rebels were growing bold. News of the Guardian's bond with a human had spread across star systems. Inside the palace, guards moved quickly. Orders were shouted. Ships flew overhead. The city was preparing for war. In the main hall, Queen Thalira walked fast, her silver cloak trailing behind. Her expression was hard, but her mind was troubled. Her throne no longer felt safe. Her people doubted her. And the creature meant to protect her stood beside someone else. Cole. He stood near the royal gate, calm and ready. Ashar sat at his side, loyal and alert. "You will stay here," Thalira ordered. "If the rebels breach the walls, I want Ashar here." Cole nodded. "Understood." She paused. "You've done more than I expected, human." "I wasn't trying to impress you," he replied. "Just trying to help." Her eyes lingered on him for a moment. Then she turned and walked away. Minutes later, alarms echoed through the palace. Boom! The outer wall shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "The way, rebels are here," shouted a guard. "They've breached the defense line." Queen Thalira was rushed to the royal chamber, but the enemy was faster this time. Better armed, better organized. Explosions rocked the foundation of the palace. Smoke filled the corridors. Soldiers screamed. Cole stood ready as a group of rebels stormed through the western gate. "Ashar!" he shouted. The Guardian growled and charged forward. It slammed into the attackers like a wave of stone and fire, tossing them aside. Cole followed closely behind, using a fallen weapon to defend himself. In the throne room, Queen Thalira stood alone. Her guards had fallen. Rebels surrounded her, blasters raised. The leader of the rebel group, a tall figure in dark armor, stepped forward. "Your time is over, Queen." Thalira didn't step back. "I will not beg." Before the rebel could speak again, the wall behind him shattered. Ashar burst into the room with a roar. Cole jumped in after it, swinging his weapon. The rebels turned in shock. One by one, they were pushed back by the Guardian's rage. The leader tried to escape, but Ashar's tail knocked him to the floor. Silence followed. The Queen stared in disbelief. "You came?" she said quietly. "I couldn't let you die," Cole said, catching his breath. She stepped forward slowly. "You saved my life." Again. He looked at her, then at the throne behind her. "Maybe it's not the throne that gives you power. Maybe it's how you lead." She didn't speak for a long time. Then, to his surprise, she nodded. "You are different," she said. "You act without pride, without fear. My people, they trust strength. But perhaps they need something more." Ashar walked between them and sat down, calm once more. Queen Thalira reached out slowly and placed her hand on its head. This time, the Guardian didn't turn away. It accepted her touch, but kept its eyes on Cole. Later that night, the fires were out. The palace was quiet. The rebels were gone. Cole stood alone on the balcony, looking at the stars. Thalira joined him, silent at first. "You should rest," he said. "So should you," she replied. They stood there together, side by side. For once, not as queen and servant, but as survivors, and maybe something more. The sun rose slowly over the capital city of Zale. The air was calm and fresh, but the palace felt different. The long fight was over. The rebels had been defeated. Peace had returned, but nothing was the same. Queen Thalira stood in the grand hall, watching the morning light spill through the tall windows. She wore a simple dress, no crown, no heavy robes. For the first time in years, she felt free from the weight of her throne. Cole walked beside her, calm and steady. He was no longer just the human who had saved her. He was part of something bigger, a part of her world. Behind them, Ashar paced slowly. The guardian beast was no longer a wild force of destruction. It had become a symbol of a new era. The queen stopped and looked at Cole. "You could leave," she said softly. "Go back to your world, your people." Cole shook his head. "I don't want to leave, not anymore." She smiled, a rare and genuine smile. "Why?" "Because this place, this world, needs more than power and fear. It needs trust. It needs hope." Thalira nodded. "I see that now. You have shown me that." Later, that day, the queen called her council together. The advisors, generals, and diplomats waited nervously. "I have decided," Thalira announced, "that Cole will stay here, not as a prisoner, nor a guest, but as my equal. He will help guide our people into the future." Whispers filled the room. One advisor whispered, "A human in the royal council?" Thalira raised her hand. "Yes, because he has earned our trust." Outside the palace, Cole knelt beside Ashar. The guardian's large eyes looked gentle as it lowered its massive head to him. "You're a good friend," Cole said quietly. Ashar rumbled softly, a sound like a deep purr. Nearby, Queen Thalira watched them. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was not the cold pride of a ruler. It was something new. That evening, under the stars, Cole and Thalira walked together through the palace gardens. "Tell me," Cole said, "did you ever really despise me?" Thalira paused and smiled. "At first, yes. I could not understand why the Guardian chose you. And now? Now I think I was wrong to judge. You have shown strength beyond battle. You have shown kindness and courage." Cole looked at her with soft eyes. "Thank you." She reached out and took his hand. The bond between the queen, the human, and the guardian had changed more than just a kingdom. It had changed the future. Ashar sat quietly nearby, watching them. Its fierce eyes held something almost like approval. From that day forward, the people of Zale saw a new kind of leader. One who listened, one who cared, and a human, once despised, became a hero and a friend. Together, they protected the kingdom, not with fear, but with trust.